Hello, good evening. Thank you for coming. This is the Stockbridge Bowl Stewardship Commission. It's April 11th. It is 5:30 and we will begin and call the meeting to order. And I'd like to welcome our new members. That would be Lori and Tom and Daniel and Rachel. And thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us. Usually we meet, if I have it correct, on Thursdays at 5:30, on the first and third Thursday. I wanted to review that for the new people. I will give a Zoom link if you need it. One unfortunate thing is Gary Kleinerman was on our committee. He's the harbor master. And due to an unfortunate confusion with the assigning new slots, he sort of got bumped off. So I just want everyone to think about it. You don't have to make a decision. But if anyone's willing to sort of step aside so Gary could come, he still can join our meetings. He was never a voting member, but he is an invaluable resource with Harbor Master and Zebra Mussels. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's no fault of anyone.
He has
here.
tremendous history too. I think it's really critical that Gary be here.
Exactly.
And you would like him to be a voting member?
Well, no, not necessarily, but
Okay.
it would mean stepping as someone non-voting might have to step aside or someone has to shift.
Okay.
But let's we can talk about it offline, but I just wanted to bring that up as a housekeeping. But I'm glad we're together and I'm glad to get it started. Michael Canales, our town administrator, is here to help us answer any questions, give us some history, and because many are new and we haven't met in a very long time. So, Don, did you want to ask Michael any specific questions or would you like
yes,
Michael
indeed.
to just give an overview first?
Michael, what would you, I have some questions, but if you want to give an overview of the bowl, what's going on, that's good, or you want me to go with mine?
Well, maybe just a few things that Jamie brought up, but I know a question was raised about emails that we're setting up for everybody. So some people may not be familiar with the board, so with the town email address for you to be able to get your emails. We will, if you want us to use a personal email, we can use a personal email as a group. I recommend you use the town issued one because in case there's ever requests for public information, then the town's responsible for getting those records together. Well, if it ever was to somebody's personal email, then you're responsible for replying to that instead of the town. So I always recommend that. I know it was put in one of the emails not to hit reply all. So the board can only share information over email, such as you could send a report, but you can't comment on a report when you're sending it to everybody. And you can discuss as a group scheduling of meetings. But that is the only group activity you guys can do. So just as a warning, if you're gonna, as Jamie said, on this, what to do with Gary, just direct any comments directly to her instead of debating it as a board, just so we don't get into any of those issues.
Thank you.
So I think that's helpful. As far as voting, non-voting members and Gary being on the board. So the difference is board members who are voting and non-voting always have a right to speak at the meetings. You're part of the board. The rest of us that attend, including myself, and now Gary, because he's not a voting or non-voting members, are considered members of the public. We only can talk if recognized by the chair. So it's just it's a small point, but it does mean that you're not necessarily included. There may be times when a board doesn't take public comment. There's no obligation of a board to take public comment. That's sometimes a myth. The public is allowed to watch a meeting, but there is no requirement for participation unless the chair allows it. So it's just a small point, but it does mean there is that slight difference. As far as going over a couple things, I do want to apologize to Mike Nathan. So I did get further clarification on the management plan. So at the time when we were putting the management plan, the town had everything from drawdowns to chemical treatment of the milfoil, to the tubes that were put in, to all types of things the town was proposing to do on the lake. And that's why they wanted to see a lake management plan. They still want to see a lake management plan because all those have been proposed by the town. So, because originally I was thinking, wait, it's only dredging and harvesting, but you've been doing this a lot longer, so I just want to say, Mike, I apologize for that. But yes, all those things, if we're going to consider all those things, it does need to be in a plan on how they're all.
But there is a lake management plan.
There is a draft plan that is with.
This is a draft plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had stated at the last meeting, I wasn't sure why it was requirement as far as moving forward on some of it, but it is because so many things were being proposed by the town over the last maybe 5-10 years, that there was a lot of proposed activity.
And there was I spoke to Patrick that the lake management plan has to be accepted by the select board.
Yes.
And I don't think there's been a vote on
There
that.
has.
Yeah, so it's not an official document
It's a
from the
draft.
town, it's a draft. And so I'm wondering, so the draft was then sent to NHESP,
Yeah.
but not an official, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to clear that up.
Yes, yes.
Does the draft have priorities? Is it listed
Yeah,
as
so
priorities?
what I'm gonna do is, something I was gonna mention that I'm gonna send to Jamie so she can send to the rest of the board members. So I will go through the chair to send this information and then she'll distribute it to the board members. I will be getting you guys draft copies of the lake management plan. You get the most current limnology report that we have on the lake itself that's done twice a year. And then any other plans or documents that are recent that we have, I'll be getting to all the members of the board, so everybody can review those and see where we're at with individual components of things that are happening at the lake. So,
Okay, and other things.
and right now we're working on updating, if you remember, Sally, that when we applied for harvesting was only 7-something acres because we had the test plots. And since those are coming out, we're looking to put a new one in that would get us right up to 9.9, which as long as you don't go above 10 acres, there's that rule for lakes that you can harvest up to 10 acres of land but you can't go above that, or you have to be doing that only for invasives. So, right.
That's a state.
Yeah, it's through that. So we just wanted to expand our current permit to include as much as possible once the test plots were removed from it.
Is
So
that something we're going to get soon?
I hope so, yeah.
Okay.
I had spoken to Robin at GZA about that and just kind of the final cutting areas.
Because that probably should, it's going to take, it'll probably take a month for it to get through conservation. Just
Yeah.
by the time we look at it and we have a meeting and we vote and we sign, it's
Yes.
usually a month.
Yeah.
So let me,
Yeah, but we have an active plan right now.
But is
So
it,
it's not
is
that,
it being done?
it would be one that would supplant one that we already have
Okay.
right now that was approved by conservation and through 2026, but this would be an updated.
Okay, so it could be submitted as an amended
Amended plan.
and then the commission would have to decide whether they thought that it was different enough that it needed to be a new filing. So that probably should be done pretty quickly.
I agree with Sally.
Yeah.
But you could keep harvesting in the meantime.
Oh, we're still gonna be harvesting exactly, yes.
7 acres.
Right now, we still have to stay out of those areas. We have to have a GPS to show that we're staying out of those areas and some other things that were in the
Yeah.
original one that we can now get rid of those requirements because we won't have those issues going forward.
And the harvester's repaired and ready to go.
It was operational last year. It'll continue to be operational this year.
So it couldn't get heard until May. So-
Yeah, it's not gonna affect this summer. We'll be operating the
all right,
same as,
all right.
so it'll be for the following year.
Okay. Because I was going to say, if it's going to be for this summer, it needs to,
No,
Like
we're not.
yesterday.
No,
Yeah.
we're-
Yeah.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
literally, yes.
Okay.
But as far as, the rest of it is just the standard stuff that we do for the lake. We've Recently, in the last year, we discussed at the last meeting that we worked with Tri-Town Health to get testing so we can do testing of if there's any algae bloom, so we can immediately identify whether or not it's cyanide or just a typical algae bloom, which is actually not dangerous. So we have a tester that could be done right here. So
You have a test.
Yeah, the test kit.
we have the test and people trained from Tri-Town Health to do it directly. And we went in with the Lennox and Lee so that it's available to test on either our lakes or their lakes. So, yeah.
Can I ask a couple of questions? Sure. Why not? That's why I'm here. Last year, we had some very nice volunteers doing the harvester. I mean, are we going to do something different this year? Because it's my personal feeling that it should be a function of the highway department. But
We hire drivers.
you do hire.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to for
They
insurance.
work under Hugh Page at the highway department. So
We are going to do that this year.
Yep, yes. And we made them employees specifically.
For insurance.
When I got here, I wanted to make sure they'd be covered under our insurance policies and everything else. So we hire them as summer employees. It's been one of our employees every summer for the last number of years.
I even get a retirement money.
Do you really?
$18.
That's good.
Don't you have to be here for 10 years to get it, though?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, but they are, so they actually operate just the way you were stating. They are hired as summer employees, temporary employees for the town for the summer, and they work under the direction of the highway superintendent.
And, okay. All right. And that's going to, that was not the case last year?
Oh,
Because I know-
case for.
Okay, so Michael, when you say you hired people, you mean people like Michael, who
Sort of like Michael.
sort of like Michael, but not as good as Michael.
Not as
Maybe a little. One of the guys is actually better.
I doubt
One
that.
of our employees, right?
Oh, so,
That's
so,
been in operation now for 3 years.
okay, and that's working well. All right.
Yeah.
Did you have-
Other questions?
Sure. Hey, I'm sitting, the contracts that we have, that there are with GZA, with the various inspectors or testers or people we have, experts, these are contracts with the town
Yeah,
and you monitor them?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do normally we do the technology testing, we have the water quality testing that's done on the lakes. Those things are just done every year. We get the reports every year. So those are just standardized. And then, of course, we have the dredging project that's been ongoing for
Sure,
quite a long time.
sure.
Yeah,
Restoration project.
Dredging.
restoration project.
Actually, I'm going to say even David Cameron, if you read his comments, referred to it as the restoration.
Yeah.
It makes a difference.
Michael, Nathan, do you have any questions?
No, I have,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
I have no question.
I didn't mean that. No.
No, I understand. Yeah.
The restoration makes a difference. That the language is important.
The language is important, not just for the agencies that we're working with, but also for us raising money on so many levels. The restoration project, called the restoration project.
Yeah.
I feel is important. I mean, we could vote it, but that's what it's always been, a restoration.
Yes, just like when people say we have a dump, no, we have a transfer station. Well, it means a different thing.
Well,
It does,
yeah.
technically means a different thing. So, absolutely. So I will refer to that. As far as the restoration project, we did apply for the inland grant program that we're going after for additional funds that would get us to 75% design. So we can go out and construction, to be able to go out to bid on the project and the rest. So if everything works according to plan, we applied for $300,000.
When-
We're going to finalize.
When will you know?
So that was submitted a month ago. It's for FY 25, so I would anticipate we're going to hear in the next couple of months, and then it would move forward. 2 years, we have to get all that lined up, and then once we get to a certain point, it also then opens us up to go after the next part, which is the construction phase, which you can apply for up to 2 million. Now, I will caution, it was a 1-year pilot one. So whether or not they continue it with forward is going to be, we hope, but we applied right off the bat for the first step. So, yeah.
Is the issue now with the restoration project, is the issue funding? Is that the only issue, or are there permitting issues still before?
Part of it is the permitting. So some of the initial permitting that was done because the project never got up had to be redone.
Okay.
Because those projects, those analysis are only good for so many years. So part of it is just getting everything lined up in line and ready to go so that we can actually get this off the ground. If we do it within 2 years, we'll be going out to bid on a construction project for the actual restoration. So, this will kick off a timeline to really get us moving forward. And the anticipation is that they fund the grant program again next, that will go after the next phase, because we'll be far enough along to go after the further funds to apply for up to 2 million. If they continue the program.
If what?
If the program is funded for another year.
And when will they let you know how much money? Because you asked for 300,000. When will you know?
Yeah, well, in a couple of months, we'll know if we
Okay.
received the grant and exactly how much we received.
I just like to address Don. Good question. Yeah, funding seems to be a partnership issue between the town and the Stockbridge Bowl Association and donors, going out. And it's hard for us for the SBA, being the representative of the SBA, for us to know how much we have to raise until we go out with quotes and get a general idea from the dredging company. We're sort of in the dark as to what this thing is going to cost, because it's now 12 years later than it was originally what we thought it might cost. So the funding, I think the permitting is really what's holding us back to do funding. We should be doing funding from grants. Those things we shouldn't, but from the SBA and raising money, it's a little more difficult for us to go out until we really know what our goal will be.
So when we go out, before we go out to bid, we have to know what procurement law we're going to follow and all those type of things.
Yeah.
And part of that is we will have at that point have to have a cost estimate on what it is before we go out to bid. So once we get to, typically on building design or major construction, once you get to 75%, you begin to do cost estimates on what it'll be, because you need to be close enough to going out to bid, because as was stated, anything that was talked about was years ago. Those numbers don't apply anymore. So, within 6 months of going out to bid, we'll be getting an idea of what the actual cost will be. And then we will have to pursue grants, other programs, fundraising, where the contributions.
Maybe I don't understand permitting, but it would seem you would get the permit and then raise the funds, but that's not the way it's going. It goes. You have to.
No, that is the way.
No, that is
That
right.
is the way it goes.
That is the way it
So
goes.
we'll have the permitting done and then the 75% construction drawings
So then,
which are, and then you go out and do a cost estimate at that point before you go
So
out.
it's sort of
to your final.
simultaneous, I
So
think.
this will all be happening over a
In
2-year
tandem.
period. And we would be out to bid and potentially dredge it. So now, obviously, we could go out and do cost estimates, and those estimates could come in.
Right.
And then you may be delayed because figuring out how you're gonna fund it once we actually get the cost estimates. That's true of almost anything we do as far as any projects, from the Tuckerman Bridge that we're doing the same. We had some estimates from 2 years ago, originally done on a feasibility study. Well, that just looked at, well, here's where we think it'll be. Now that we're getting closer, we'll end up doing some design elements, same thing with even the chime tower and the rest, you get price, they do a cost estimate on the project, the salt shed, any of these larger projects. That you do.
Is there sort of a ballpark or no?
Not really, I mean.
So, like when you build a house, it's so much per acre or so much per foot.
There is actually, for the dredging, they do throw out a certain price per cubic yard.
Okay,
So it's a very good question. They do, but we don't know anymore what that's going to be.
okay,
You know what I mean?
Right, right.
But
No,
the
but I didn't know
actual formula, they do give,
okay.
they figure out something and then they figure out what it costs to bring the machines, what it costs to
Right,
bring it back,
fuel.
and what it costs basically per cubic yard of material to do the dredging.
Okay,
But just like a house.
That's the way I understood it from the
Right.
dredging company.
It is, but just like a house, if you got a quote from 2.5 years ago to build a house.
Oh, it's
and
different.
You're trying to build it now, the cost is substantially different. So as we get closer and closer, we'll be tying those numbers in to what we actually need.
I'd like to know, does everyone who's on the board, do they know the history of why we're doing this? Do you understand why it's so important, this project? And I bring that out because people are new and I feel like I'm at the other end of living with this. But it's such an important concept that we understand what the ramifications are to our lake if this project, not just to our lake, I apologize, to our town, of what it means if this project does not get done long-term. And so I'm just wondering if maybe there should be a next meeting or whatever, a 15-minute history of
we can do that.
how it started, why it became what it is, and it might give you a deeper sense of the importance of this project.
Dredging history or
Yeah,
restoration.
right. I mean, that's just my take. I always find that if I understand why I'm doing something, it just makes it more,
I think we should plan on that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you want Pat to do that? Would you like to do that?
I can do it, or,
Michael, do you want? No?
Actually, Mike knows more of the history
Okay.
of.
Then you,
Yeah, and
you're
I'll do
willing?
that for next meeting.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you.
Or,
And Sally, you wanna?
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
I'll,
I've been in the trenches. I've
No.
been on the periphery.
right.
Well, Sally, you can add information, like from the conservation side of it. And Sally,
I mean, the history goes back all the way to the
Long time.
1950s or 60s.
really?
70s goes
Long
back.
time.
I have to look, there's a whole file on,
well, they used to dredge the lily pond.
They
Yeah.
did?
Yeah, and they stopped, and that's why it's silting in now.
It's a fire pond. That's
Oh,
how I was.
but I'm not, yes.
okay, I didn't know that.
I don't know enough about Lily Pond's issues as much as I know about
The ball.
south of the lake, south of the island.
But I think they were doing that to help stop the lake from silting.
Actually, it isn't Lily Pond. It's just the area,
It's,
Yeah.
area to the east of
Causeway
the,
area.
the causeway. Yeah, it
Because they
was the
did
fire
dig
pond.
an area to collect the silt,
Right,
and then they just stopped collecting it.
right.
Well, wasn't there a snail problem?
No,
Oh,
no,
there.
not there,
Not there?
They weren't there?
Stopped.
no.
Didn't they just stop doing it?
Well,
Yes.
I'm sure it was a
Highway
permanent
to-
nightmare.
Stopped.
Stop.
I'm sure
I
it
used to
was a
go on a boat underneath.
permanent nightmare and I'm sure it
When I
was
was a kid.
expensive.
Oh,
You can still go under. You can still go under.
Okay.
I've been through it in the
Okay, well,
pipe and a
But not-
kayak.
Probably not like when I did it as a kid, where there was nothing there.
Yeah, no, I've been on that lake all my life.
Me too.
And I suspect maybe longer than you.
I don't think so.
we have,
Right, they're probably a little older.
yeah. Do we have any more questions for
Yes.
Michael? Because I know he has something else to do today.
oh, I have another
Then keep
question.
going.
Yeah, communication, sewer and sewer line along the rest of the lake. I think that's important for us, for the health of the lake and to continue to get the sewer line going on, whatever my side is.
East.
East side on the east side. I
And
think
you guys
that's-
have a little bit, right?
Huh?
You have a little bit.
We have 3 houses on it.
Oh, you do. Okay.
Yeah, so that,
So, right now, the Sewer and Water Commission is doing a sewer, prioritization plan. That committee's doing it. So we're gonna have a plan coming out shortly about priorities,
Yeah.
for sewer.
do you
On
think
the
that'll be,
east side of the lake?
what?
On the east side?
No, Don's side.
My side, the
West side.
waterfall
West.
side.
West?
West.
Is that the west?
Yeah.
That's the,
It's sort of the north. anyway.
Northwest.
Depends upon which way the road.
I think I look east or something, I don't
We'll
know.
talk about, from everywhere from the Camp Mackinac,
Oh,
sewer
good.
in that area too, and all that's being discussed at the Sewer and Water Commission. As
Okay,
far as the sewer prioritization plan.
might be worth it for us to listen in on that, you know.
Well, what I'll do is, so I believe at their next meeting, they're gonna be getting a draft on it. And, obviously, well, I'll get copies of that to this board. So some of it is coming in pretty costly because they will
Sure.
require pump stations to be installed to pump because obviously you're lower when you're in the lake area and have to get it up higher, to get it over the natural elevations and that. And then there'll be discussions of everything from how to fund those, whether it's coming from the town, the users, from betterments, from
Sure.
all types of different options. So it's being discussed right now. And obviously still dealing with the I of the sewer itself, which is inflow and infiltration, which we still have issues around our existing sewer lines that are older, that we're getting substantial amounts of water into the system.
What's the deal with White Pines?
What does that mean?
Do they have
They on sewer?
septic or are they
I
on
think
a?
they're on septic.
I think-
And I believe there's that's part of the. isn't
Because
that part of
I think that may
area
be
as well?
pretty critical.
Yeah, they're really looking at that as far as those areas, so, yeah.
So, you're right, it's the west side, looking north, we're the west side. The Lake Drive Association, Beth has been sending, every time there's a meeting,
Yeah.
she's been sending out an email to everybody because that's the largest community on the lake other than,
Like Beechwood?
Beechwood, but Beechwood basically has sewer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, so it's the largest that doesn't have
Okay.
a sewer system. And we've been reaching out to all our community in Lake Drive to go to listen into these meetings, and we should. It's very
Yeah,
important.
they've had a couple already.
Yeah.
Just discussing the overall plan,
Right.
but, yeah. And that's being done by DP Associates,
Okay.
who are the designers of our sewer plant and the rest, so.
That's great that she's working hard. Any other questions?
Sure.
Go.
I mean, you want me, I don't want to dominate more
Well,
than
I
I
just-
normally dominate.
As a new member, I just wonder if you could maybe step back a bit and talk
Sure.
a little bit about, what I guess,
Purpose.
the purpose of this stewardship commission is, what we have been, kind of here to do, and what the scope of our authority is, and where we fit into the Stockbridge Bowl and
Sure.
association and the town.
Well, I'd be glad to answer that, to represent the town in this important, facility. I don't know, what you call it, a facility?
We're
We're
an
an
advisory committee.
Advisory board to the select
Board.
board
Right.
on
And we are
this
tasked.
important, resource of our town, and
Right.
to look into the details and to suggest to them any actions that we feel should be taken.
And this is a relatively new body, correct?
No, I've been around
And
for a
many
while.
in,
In
In and out, that's my understanding, but yeah, it was
Is that right?
not active.
Yes.
The
That was a good
Stockbridge
word.
Bowl
That
Association
was a
is
good
a
word.
That was
private,
good,
Right.
correct?
right,
Yes.
which
Okay.
builds on.
yeah.
It was
SAT.
formalized only 2 years ago. Before that, it
Right.
was just an ad hoc committee.
Right.
Mhm.
Now it's a formal committee of the town.
Okay,
Bylaws and everything.
Yeah, so we're advisory to the select
Sure.
board.
so to look into what's going on and to consider it, make suggestions.
Right, so anything that would affect the health of the lake.
And
Michael?
Don, you wrote up a wonderful list of things, you should send that by email to the whole group.
Well, speak.
No, well, I couldn't, on Messenger, on my, computer, I took a document photo of it, but I thought if you could just send it to the group, you must have it on your computer.
I took it, I took.
Oh, I don't,
it a step further.
I don't have, that is the same thing?
No, it's a new one.
Oh,
Oh,
I took it a step further and considered some actions that we may want to think about.
Oh, you better give Michael.
I better give Michael one.
Do you need me to go copy? Did you give Sally one?
I did, everybody's got one.
I didn't get one.
and
That,
They
you
need
know,
one
these
too.
are just,
Okay,
you
so,
know, as I'm sitting there having my evening scotch, I'm saying, okay, what should we be doing? And this
so
is,
Daniel and Rachel.
so is foliage, are we done with trying to put chemicals in the lake or is that,
All done,
is that?
all done,
All done?
all done.
No, not necessarily.
What does that mean?
Right now.
I thought, well, don't we now call
Are
them
we?
herbicides?
Herbicides.
There was a whole, wasn't there a whole conversation?
Yeah, there was
I
a
don't
thing.
I
Herbicides?
thought SBA pulled back and we're not doing it.
We're not currently doing it, that's for sure. So I don't know enough. I don't know what the policy is of where we're going with it, but I think everybody's rowing in the same direction right now to get the dredging.
Well,
Yeah.
Pat's on,
And
yes.
I can see Sally, I can see, if I may say that, but I'm just telling you that I don't know what bigger powers to be are thinking.
I don't think
Wait.
I don't think we need to put people on this. At this point,
Yeah.
there's no herbicide plan.
Right, there's no
At this
herbicide plan
point,
at
It
this
doesn't mean
point.
that it won't come, and this will be the board that it would probably might originate at, or at least a discussion to this board if it's gonna be considered.
Good, good.
Yeah.
I also had here the harvester, which we've already discussed. The water quality, bacteria and algae, we said
We do those reports every
Testing.
year, I'll be getting copies of those reports to you guys.
every year. Zebra mussels,
Well, we were hoping Gary was
we
here, but he's
hope
not
Gary
here.
was here, but he's not.
Unless Michael has any information.
I'd like to ask Gary a few questions about that. but,
So we have him next meeting?
So we can have him next meeting.
Yeah.
I thought he was made a voting member. I thought he was made a voting.
It was very
It
confusing.
was confused, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I have El Jefe here who would clear that.
No, it was very confusing.
Oh, it was very
Most of it is Select board meeting and it sort of got
It
a
was
little.
pushed through and it got very.
So he's not.
He's not right now a voting or
We
not.
were told he didn't want to
Not a
be on
member
it.
At all.
Really?
Yeah, we were told he didn't want to be, so it's confusing and he does.
But he's such an asset.
Oh,
Yeah,
no, I don't think, I don't know well enough, but I get the feeling that must have been miscommunicated.
you can watch the video.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Oh, did he say he didn't want to be? He said- All right, no
Watch the
comment?
video.
All right, just didn't seem like Gary. He definitely wants to. Thought he-
I know we're working on getting
Yeah.
We were
zebra
told
mussel
he didn't.
monitors
Yeah.
up there, as far as monitors at the beach. So he's working on it right now,
Yeah,
getting people.
yeah.
yeah, I have some questions on how they do that, but he
Yeah.
they need to be here.
The boats are
Yeah,
starting to
he's the
appear again
best person as far as the details.
because fishing boats are starting to show up again. So,
Oh, they are. They
yeah,
are.
one I had seen, at least three.
Seems like the water would be
It
freezing.
is freezing,
Too cold for them?
but they are out there now. So people are using the boat ramp.
I think there, I felt that we should have some sort of discussion and feedback from people like GZA, NHESP, the Board of Health, COMCOM. I mean, I don't know who or what or how that should ever work, but I'd say we would at various times along the way be,
Well, it won't
be
be.
useful for us to talk with one or more of these people.
Hi, Hugh.
Hi, Hugh.
Yeah, you're always able to, if there's something you want to discuss with the Board of Health. I mean, as far as just open discussion, I'm not sure what you.
I don't know either.
Right, we would just have to
If
put
there's something
someone on the
we can
agenda.
have, if you're just looking for an update on them on how they do cyanobacteria. You know, if I'm gonna reach out to Jim Willis or something to come in, I'm sure his first question is, what am I talking about?
Yeah.
So, and that would be the same with any of our consultants or others that we'd have to pay to come here. Not that we can't have them, but it's just, it should be, what are they coming here to discuss?
The other thing to address that, first of all, we work with several arms of GZA.
Sure.
So there's the restoration project working with GZA out of Eastern Massachusetts. And then there's a GZA that's a different in Connecticut. Is that in Connecticut? Okay. But we also, the town has a group that's been working with GZA on the restoration, and maybe Pat Canale can come if you call her, and she can give you an update of where we are with the restoration project, what the timeline is.
That would be useful too.
You know, and I think she would do, even though I'm in that group, I think Pat would give you a much better summation than I would be able.
Well, when we get the summary of, or
Well, the history is different. That's the history that I'm going to give you is how we got to this point and why it's so important to a point. But the actual technical of where we are in discussions with NHESP, with GZA on all the testing that we did with the silt and in Bullard Woods, and to bring you up to date on where we are. And I think Pat would do a better job, and she's probably, is she on the, Pat, are you there?
she was.
Yeah, I see her name. All right.
I am here, yes.
Okay, I hope you don't mind my offering your services.
No, absolutely not. And you and Michael both know that we have a PERT chart that actually lays out the permitting process and the steps that need to be done
Right.
and in what order and what we have to do. And that would be happy to share that with the group so you can see where we are in terms of the restoration and the timeline that we have so far.
And
Yeah, that would be very interesting.
That's part of all that documentation I'll be sending to Jamie.
Oh, okay.
You're gonna be getting all that.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
So that will,
That's what we're here for,
Yeah.
is my understanding.
yeah.
So it needs to funnel through us.
And
Well, we're an advisory group. We have to get that information, but the town has to decide how.
The
select board
official,
decides.
we're the official group, so I think that it's important that it comes to us.
Right. Anything else?
I've talked more than my share.
Anyone else?
Bill, have any questions?
No.
Lori?
Oh.
Anyone out there?
Questions, comments?
All right, so I have a couple of agenda items for next month. One
Okay.
is the history of restoration by Michael. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
your
Michael,
help.
thank you.
Thank you.
And once you send the information, I'll give it to the group.
Right.
Okay.
And just remind everybody to get sworn in.
Yes. Oh, right.
You know,
Right.
and so they can vote at the next, if we have items that need to be voted on.
Okay. Sworn
All
in.
right,
Okay, thanks, Michael.
yep.
So restoration history, Michael, Nathan and Sally will add her information. We'll ask Gary Kleinerman to come and do a zebra mussels update. And anyone or anything else you would like on next month's agenda? Well, you have my attention.
It might be interesting to get somebody from the committee that studied the lake for the Board of Health,
The committee
whether it's, I wish I served on,
that,
you know.
with that studied the lake.
Yeah, that was Charlie Kenny. The whole cyanobacteria business.
Oh, okay.
We should maybe get a refresher
Well, I
on
can
that.
maybe ask Dr. Kenny, Charlie,
Yeah.
Yeah,
if he knows. Okay.
Because that could be Jim, it could be Jim Willis, it could be Charlie, it could be,
Right.
you know,
Someone or Mike Phony or,
right.
right, okay,
Because I think that's something that we're gonna
ask.
hopefully not have to deal with this year, but you
Right.
never know.
No, it's a good idea.
Well, we've been very lucky.
Really lucky.
We've only had one of these. And in the last many years, so we've been very lucky.
but they're having them all over.
I understand, but we've been lucky.
Yeah. I know.
They're coming more
So
frequently.
we can't say we're immune, no.
I would say, right.
So it's,
I'm saying we've been lucky.
so I think it's something we need to be refreshed our knowledge and what
It's a great
we
idea.
look for and how we respond. Because Lord knows we don't want to have to cancel the Josh buildings at the
No,
last
not
minute
again.
again.
Oh, my
One of
gosh.
those crazy things again.
And sewer and water update.
I have to go.
Sewer line,
Sewer and water.
yeah, I mean,
You want the sewer updates?
yeah, the sewer plan.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's timely or not, but it might not be.
Right. Sewer and water update. So it looks like on my calendar, the 25th, is that?
That's what you had said.
Yeah,
When is the next one?
25th
Of
at
May,
5:30. No, we're still in April.
April.
April 25th at 5:30. And any other,
It's the first and the third Thursday.
I think, or did we do it?
This is the second.
That's why I got confused. Because then I was thinking, is it the
Oh,
second
right,
or
right,
the
right.
fourth?
No, it is right. The second and the fourth, because the first and the third is select board. That's
Okay.
why we had to sort it out.
All right.
That's
So it's
when,
really
So
the
we're
second
meeting
and the
twice-
fourth.
We're meeting twice a month?
in the spring, summer, yes. And
Right.
then in the fall, winter, it's once a month.
Oh, I didn't realize that was the case. Okay,
Yeah, it's
good.
in the bylaws.
It is?
But you can, we
Yeah,
can
they-
change
are
those
they-
bylaws.
Well, it takes
No, I like,
Well, yeah, I'm just saying we can.
Yeah, we can.
Change it because we're really, from what I understand, we're,
If-
I think the only committee that has this twice.
I know, but it got written into the bylaws.
I understand that. I'm just saying that if we feel it's too much or whatever, we have an option
We can change it.
of having it changed. That's all. We don't have to have it changed.
Interfere with yoga, right,
Right.
John?
as long as it doesn't interfere.
So
with the
I am
other.
I was
so.
changing.
I have to go. I apologize. I thank
No,
you.
Marty told me.
Yeah.
So I am grateful for everyone showing up. Thank you. And thank you for all your input and your presence and motion to adjourn, please.
Motion.
Motion.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.